Welcome back. In the previous part, we have introduced different operators we can use to write the SQL queries. I now to clarify that for the queries we introduced before, they do not do any changes to tables. They just read the data from tables and do some different operations and return results. However, the tables we have, the data we have in tables never be changed in these queries. So they are just reading the data from tables, right? And in this section, we will move to the SQL modifications and the views. For the modification part, we will introduce different operations we can use to make some changes to tables. In other words, for this section, we will change the table, the data we have in tables. So view is a different concept. We will also cover these views as a second part for this section. And this view is also correlated with the modifications, and therefore we will introduce them in this section. So what is a modification? So formally, a modification command does not return any result as query does. However, it does some changes to the tables, to a database system in some way. So you can compare the query we learned before, right, versus the modifications. Query is to read data from tables and return some results. However, queries we introduced before never change the table. On the other hand, modification to be introduced in this section, they make some changes to the table. However, it doesn't return a result. And there are three common modifications we can use, or we can make some changes to tables. The first one is to insert a tuple. The second one will be delete a tuple. The third one is to update some values for an existing tuple. We have also covered this briefly before, right? If you still remember in the relational model part, this section, we also cover how to make some changes to table by insert, delete, and update some tuples in a table. So the first part is about insertion. To insert a tuple into a table, we can do the insertion in a very simple way. We can use this insert into, then some result keywords into a relation. This should be a relation name or a table name, followed by some values. Then inside the value we have parentheses, and we have a bunch of values or attribute values inside the parentheses. And we have a semicolon denoting the end for the insertion. We'll provide you with an example. We plan to add some tuples into the next table. The next table has two attributes. The first one is drinker, the second one is beer. We want to insert into the table the fact that Sammy likes Bud. So to insert this new data into a table, we can do so by following the template we show above. Insert into likes. Likes is the table name, right? Values, parentheses. The first one is Sammy. Sammy corresponds to the first attribute, drinker. The second one is Bud. It corresponds to a beer. They are both strings. And we have a parenthesis, and then we have semicolon. So by writing the statement like this, we can insert into the next table with Sammy and Bud denoting the drink and the beer as a new tuple. So if we do the insertion in this way, by default we will assume Sammy corresponds to drinker and Bud corresponds to beer, right? And sometimes, if we have so many different attributes, and we just insert a number of attributes in them, and we plan to specify the attributes in the insertion, we can do so, right? We also covered this before. We may add to the relation name with a list of attribute names. In this way, we can specify which of the attributes will correspond to for the values, right, to be inserted. And there are two reasons to do so. The first reason maybe is we forget the standard order of the attributes for the relation. Or we don't have value for all attributes. However, we want to insert a subset of these attributes into the table. And we want the system to fill in the missing attributes with some null or default values. We can do so by insertion with specified attributes for the relations as shown at the bottom. So, for example, we plan to insert into the table the fact that Sammy likes Bud. And we can do the insertion like this, insert into likes. However, for the next table, we will specify the attributes or the order of attributes to be inserted. Here, we intentionally put the beer in the front and drinker at the end. We have beer, drinker, there are two attributes to be inserted. We have some values, but correspond to the beer because we specify the attributes for the first value. Sunny correspond to the drinker. So you can compare this expression versus the previous one, right? Previously, we didn't specify the attributes after the relation. Here we specify the attributes manually, and the but correspond to the first attribute, Sunny correspond to the drinker. So for the insertion. And so in this insertion, we specify the values manually by hand. However, sometimes when we do the insertion, we plan to get do the insertion by getting some results from some other queries, right? If so, then we can use this subquery to help us. So we may insert the entire result of a query into a relation by using the format as featured in the photos. We insert into a relation. We have parentheses. Inside it, we have a subquery. Then we have a semicolon denoting the end. We'll provide you with an example. We insert into beers. Here we also specify the attribute names. Either the name for the beer. We have parentheses. Select beer from sales. And we have a semicolon. In this way, we insert all the beers in the sales table into the beers table, right? And also it corresponds to the name of the beers. Its name is the attribute, right, in the beers table. So in this way, we can insert so many data tables at once and by using the subqueries. And this is another example. We do the insertion by using the subquery to help us. And let's say we have a bunch of tables. The first one is frequency. In the frequency table, we have drinker and bar. And we plan to enter into a new table, portal bodies, with name as attribute. So portal body is table name. Name is attribute name in this table. So inside this table, we have all the Sunny's potential bodies. What is a body? We provide a definition here. Bodies denote the drinkers who frequent at least one bar that Sunny also frequents. So if we want to do a query like this, then we have to use subquery to help us, right? So to insert these kinds of data into these portal bodies in the new relation or new table, we have to get all the potential bodies of Sunny, right? How can we find the drinkers who frequent at least one bar that Sunny also frequents? We do this in a very simple way, right? We can select the frequency. However, for this query, we have to use the frequency multiple times, right? So we have frequency D1, D2 as shown here. Here we select D2 dot drinker and the potential bodies of Sunny, right? From frequency D1 and D2, there are two copies of frequency table, right? Where D1 dot drinker equals to Sunny is a condition, right? And then we have to join these two tables together, right? The D2 dot drinker not equals to Sunny, and D1 dot bar equals to D2 dot bar. So we join them together, right? So by using this subquery as shown here, we can get all the potential bodies of Sunny, and we can insert this data into portal bodies is a new table. We have parentheses denoting inside it we have a subquery, right? Okay, so this is the way we can do the insertion by using the subquery to help us, which can help us insert a bunch of data tuples simultaneously at once.